To be very honest, when I started watching The Owl House, I already had an idea that it was something different and special, since practically everyone who watched this cartoon ended up falling in love with it and recommending it. So I was curious about the fact that it was able to awaken so many things in people. I got excited and watched it, and man, if I had to summarize this cartoon in one word, it would be belonging. The Owl House talks about so many complicated issues and problems and portrays subjects that are so necessary, whether for teenagers or adults, and does it with such affection that it's impossible for me not to place it as one of the best cartoons I've ever watched in my life. And even though I already knew it was something different, it still managed to surprise me by how quickly it won me over. And it's very interesting how the place where the story takes place, the Scorched Islands, escapes that cliche of the magical world in which everything is incredibly cute in every aspect. It's much better than the real world. In fact, it's a very sinister and dangerous place that it's not easy for the character to adapt, and the fight is bizarre and unfriendly creatures that are everywhere, and that certainly won't think twice about killing her. The place does have its good side, but the choice to not focus solely on it, and if for the most part the scary and challenging dark side of that universe worked exceptionally and surprised me a lot in a very positive way. And that is a point that made me like the cartoon. But let's leave a little aside what made me like it. For example, the incredible animation, such beautiful art that makes you want to frame it just because they are true works of art, or the sensational fights with magic. And let's talk about what made this drawing hit me in the heart and made me think, okay, the Owl House is special, and she is much more than a cartoon. Luz, she is a very creative, expressive person, a dreamer, and also very eccentric, which doesn't help her when it comes to fitting in at school, making friends, and accepting herself, and also means that she constantly ends up having problems with her school authorities who do not approve in any way of the behavior considered different from the common that the Luz presents, and even suggests that her mother places her in a camp whose name is Reality Camp, and the slogan is Think Inside the Box. What it represents the way the education system kills the creativity and dreams of people who are still developing and should be encouraged to express themselves and do what they love, not reprimanded for that. And I'm not going to go too deep into this subject because there's a lot to talk about, but watch the animated short. Alike, it's very beautiful and portrays it in an accurate way without saying a single word about how the system itself takes away people's uniqueness, and obviously not fitting in, not being able to have friends, and constantly being scolded for trying to be herself, creates a feeling of sadness and confusion in the Luz, which makes her feel that that wasn't her place, and in the end she would never be able to fit in and find herself in the world. The Owl House talks a lot about this, the search for belonging somewhere. This is well portrayed in the development of Hunter, for example, who always believed that he was serving some greater purpose by belonging to something and doing the right thing, but in the end everything he believed was a lie. His real purpose was not even remotely what he idealized, and discovering this really shook him. Even Hunter's psychological, but even without ground he ended up finding a place where he belonged, and that place was next to his friends, people who really cared and wanted the best for him. So Hunter lost this old purpose of his. He ended up learning to value the little things and discovered that they in themselves gave meaning to life and a reason to continue fighting. This is also portrayed in King, who deals with abandonment and searches for answers regarding his origins and what had actually happened to his father. All he wanted most was to find himself and discover who he was in the world, and if in some way he belonged to something bigger. We also see this search in the development of the character Lilith, and especially in her Luz, where she didn't fit into the real world. Imagine that it would be easier to find a place where she belonged in a magical, since being part of something like that was everything she ever dreamed. But then Luz discovers that it's not quite like that, and that fitting into a world of witches being a human was, in a way, as difficult as fitting into a real world as a different person. So she is in this constant search to feel part of that magical world and to become a powerful witch. And who doesn't like to feel a feeling of connection with something or someone? Who doesn't like to feel like they belong? Necessary to feel like they are part of something. We are human and we have these needs. The Owl House teaches in a beautiful way how we can find these connections, feelings, and this place around which we belong, to incredible people and the small things in ourselves. Another important thing is how this cartoon shows us that there are no chosen ones, there is willpower. The Luz is the protagonist. It is a work of chance. It could be anyone in her place who had been passing by the house at that time, and at no point had she received any mission she was predestined or considered someone special, and that's why she was the protagonist. In fact, no, she just liked fantasy and got lucky, and the first moment the Luz arrives there, she really wants to believe that sometimes people had chosen her because she was special, and this thought even ends up putting everyone in danger. So the cartoon shows us that she was not invincible because she appeared on the screen for longer, and in a very painful way. In the light learns that things don't work like the fantasy books she likes. And there's one thing that Idolin tells her, that it's simply perfect. Look at the child. Everyone wants to believe that they are chosen, but if we wait for a prophecy to be special, we die waiting. That's why you have to be chosen for yourself. And what that means is you don't necessarily need someone special or predestined to win. And keep thinking that you are, and that the world will provide you with something more, so it won't take you nowhere. As they say, we have to be chosen for ourselves. Then the Luz dawns on us, and we evolve a lot. Willpower, persistence, dedication, and courage. She shows that if she is chosen, it doesn't matter. She can learn a way to do magic by force, and even though she is a human, and overcome several challenges, all thanks to her pure effort. And the fact that she chose to believe in herself and chose herself, I think being an ordinary person identifies, and not a special person who does not win through the power of protagonism, but rather due to her enormous willpower. It is what makes Luz Nocita a special character. After all, she always finds an ideal way. The Owl House also teaches a lot, alluding to psychiatric illnesses, as portrayed in The Curse of Idolin, and demonstrates how someone who lives with constant that affects her mental health feels about it. And there's an incredible episode where she needs to face this curse and visit painful moments that she faced in the past. And we realize how this really hurt her and took her away from the people she loved most. And she even ended up hurting her father and causing a lot of trauma. So there's that fantastic and very important scene on the beach that symbolizes how she was tied up and trapped in that thing. But in the end, she ends up realizing that it was possible to live with her condition despite everything. So she ends up making a truce with the beast, since it was also suffering a lot and didn't like being part of it at all. So then he realized that if it didn't completely accept itself, this nightmare didn't want to end, and continuing to run away and fight would only cause more pain to her and everyone she loved. And accepting this, and also the supposed medicine that is represented by the elixir, she gains a new form, which can also be interpreted as the change she achieved at that moment, and how accepting resulted in a transformation that she ended up liking and feeling comfortable about it in the end. And it's impossible to talk about the points that make this cartoon so special without mentioning the relationship between Emite and Luz. It's something so well constructed, from the body language of the two, that it's so funny, cute, and real at the same time, or how the moments in which the singer falls more and more in love with the Luz are subtly left for the audience to see, and you can tell that they were prepared with attention and with a lot of care. And the way in which these feelings that they feel for each other, but have a certain fear of showing at the beginning, are approached in a very organic, human, and identifiable way. And that episode of the dance, my friend, is one of the most incredible things I have ever seen. I saw. And when they officially get together, then we have some very beautiful moments that warm our hearts and make us remember the pure sincerity and beauty of a relationship that perhaps we even forgot a long time ago. And I really think that there could have been more moments between them together. But in doing so, a lot of things happened in the cartoon, and the dynamics and the way they combine is sensational. Their development as a whole regarding this relationship is perfect. The scenes in which they are together are beautiful, and without a doubt, it's one of the best cartoon couples for me, as it conveys a sincere and authentic feeling from the beginning about their love, which is far from being forced. And we feel this, for example, in the episode where they make it official and the Luz says she doesn't know what the future holds for her, but it would be really cool if Amity was part of it. So in the first app of the third season, Amity tells the same thing for her. Finally, you can see from afar the affection that the creator of cartoon put into this relationship. And in short, I could make a video just about these two characters and their relationships, since it's really a lot. But basically their love is very well constructed in the plot, authentic, representative, and it's beautiful. And if there's one thing that makes it the Owl House likes to do, these are episodes that make the story advance a lot, in a short time, being one after the other. It's a cartoon that doesn't like messing around. This doesn't happen much at the beginning of the first season, but now in the second, my friend, I'm still recovering from the last blow, and it keeps coming one after the other, and that made me really enjoy watching it, always keeping me looking forward to seeing the next episode, because I knew it was going to be incredible and important for the plot. And it's simply scary how much it was developed and presented in such a short time if we stop to see, and they knew very well what they were doing. since all of this was done without leaving that feeling that the cartoon was running over things and being shallow at certain points, which stops to tell the truth. It's quite surprising. The characters are infinitely more complex than they seem at first glance. They are friendly, very well written, and with several layers to their personalities that make us care and sympathize with them easily, and the cartoon goes deeper into these different layers as things go forward, and even if it is a quick way, it develops each of them in different and important aspects with great care, and their development and growth teaches so many important lessons that we can easily bring into our lives. I personally like Hunter's development and how he finds his place among people who really loved him and didn't lie to him. I really like Edelyn's development as a whole, but especially in relation to her curse and how she stops being a witch who didn't care much about almost anything, since she ends up creating a maternal love for Luz and King, and kind of feels like a mother to them, something she never thought she would feel before in her life. This resulted in many emotional moments in the cartoon, and it made them become a family. The development of Emity also incredible, the way she stops being the villain of the cartoon in a matter of a few episodes, and when more layers of her personality are explored, we begin to understand more why she acted like that and begins to understand her more as she is, shown as being a great person as the story goes on. And finally, the development of Luz Wright, simply sensational. She matures a lot in the cartoon, she grows more and more with each episode, and understands how things work, or find a way to make things work. She learns to love and be loved and becomes more and more popular with her extremely charismatic way as she tries to fit into that strange world as she searches for a way to get back to her own world and for her mother. I love this character, so I think that in the end, The Owl House is much more than a cartoon. It teaches us about love, about having the willpower to keep moving forward and learning, no matter how weird and scary things may seem. Shows how we can find a place to belong and be a part of, teaches us that weirdos belong together, and inspires us to have the courage to talk about our feelings with the people we care about. Fight full force what we believe in, and if you stop to see The Owl House, it's a lot about that. Fighting is about the constant and tireless fight for freedom, whether it's Ida fighting to not be forced into the Emperor's clan, in Emity fighting for freedom against her controlling parents, in Willow and Guns fighting to be able to learn the type of magic they want, or in all of them fighting against the tyranny of beauty. Anyway, it's really sad that it didn't fit into the Disney brand, because it fit into my heart, and I really love this cartoon, and above all, I'm very happy that it existed.